Uh, Representative Houlihan, Representative Karragon. In view of C.J. Love, A.C. Poe, J. Nugent, and Tish Kelly, we wouldn't be asking our standard deviation if the only Secretary of North Korea in the history of the United States, instead of Washington during the 45th administration, where security turned on the radio and says, apologize for the Korean war or the Vietnam at the Memory. If we were going to ask this the same way as the Chohan, as a titanium with nothing but hypersonics, and then instead of a freight carrier, a lead destroyer that is built out of titanium with nothing but hypersonics, with a Vorka UFA class that be able to mimic beluga and blue whales, so that way then it does weight displacement. The agreement of the Russian parade in 2022, Operation Charlie, with the same way that the family environment be end of May for Memorial Labor Day in view of this cancer. If he has to sign that, borrow his wonder to UN Order 5, 8, and 9 wouldn't mean that that's wonderment why I don't know, instead of Bear and the Duke. What about the Baroness, his mother, my grandpa? And then the uncomfortable, the Earl, his and more inappropriate Lady and the Duchesses who sit on the Supreme, or not on the Supreme, excuse me, his wonderment, the appellate court cases, which the lady, it wouldn't be that wonderment. I guess if we were getting specific in the Eldon Churchill, but that wouldn't matter at all if we were learning about that size of the family, Miss Kerrigan, or which would only mean that would it be King John Kevin Ellen Anderson the first, depending on his mandate. The same way that's wondered in the 5 executive orders, 2 Supreme Court cases, 7 appellate case courses, and 3 state Supreme Court cases, unemployment, businesses, day-to-day mental health, again. And we were going to ask that at all in view of the monarchy as the House of Essex. Weapons, that's ATC 89 for any of the other members of the Supreme Court. The conversation in Brooklyn Naval Yard v. the U.S., Ashcroft v. Anderson, McCormick v. the U.S., and Emeryville v. the U.S., and say that you're using it as questions to the NORAD, a STRATCON system in view of CIRSA. He doesn't understand who he, as the 2-star general, was on it. You can't ask Bartholomew what happened the day of it and say the Anheuser-Busch guy. But if you were going to say that that's King's speech compared to speech, as we'll call it, that's not showing it as the person compared to the in view of the day and the day of management. We wouldn't be asking Congress all that, the same question he asked them when we were at the Johnson Building in Washington before Barack ran. The same time that the Ashcroft-Iquel hearings were happening. Now, if we were going to ask this to the specifics of the great uncles, the Poseidon doesn't show the Pelmus wave technology with the solar panel and say the shelling shows that to making pistons. Leon Bryant, what they do for a living. That the RS-28 Samurai doesn't Leon's and mine's based on the Raptor engine. So if we were going to get specific in our design questions, Representative Kerrigan, instead of the fires and bringing the emergency manager as like a back together as a governor, or during your mayor what the pellet would have awarded you for Gentech. In view of Biotime and Moderna, you wouldn't have ran. Now, if that's not wondered just a little bit instead of asylum, that would mean then the deputy FEMA secretary, deputy interior compared to the secretary, those aren't more proper terms in view of Camellia, and say that you're penetrating the dog, penetrated the, and Liz, Joe's daughter in your lifetime. Now, if those were those type of questions, you don't go after Democratic women and then say that there's two more of them that are U.S. houses that you've been with in your life. Now, Miss Hooligan and Miss Kerrigan, if Operation Mickey Mouse shows a video to part of the January group, the same way as showing an Operation Tesla Turk 28634 shows where in Nevada to justify the tectonic plate shift efficiency standard. If we wanted to fully cleanse the United, now Representative Kerrigan and Callahan, if it's a tungsten-based frigate, which you only ask the last thing you asked them, with all hypersonics and instead of a flight carrier, it wouldn't be what the Striker Hood was wondered, and say the 300 frigates destroyers with the 34 subs gradually going across Australia, while the 6 destroyers, the 8 subs sit in Havana, Cuba, and then the 13 and the 8 that go off of Nova Scotia. Now, that wouldn't be said the impeachment, a couple of those other ones, that would be before the the lady and the guy at the United Nations. That wouldn't be Vulcan Basquier. Now, if this was wondered to the Kerrigan and Callahan, we wouldn't be asking at all if these were the same questions in Honest John RBK Voyaga, or in our more affection, the 100 or 1,000 degrees Celsius design. If that was asked as a standard deduction, all frigates, destroyers, and North Korean, Chinese, Russian, and the African Union have a 1,000 Celsius, one Zircon, one caliber, and one Anschnick as a standard production for foreign aid policy. Those weren't the questions that were asked at, and 1,000 degrees Celsius does not have a nuclear signature. That's not the tank with roses, the box, and then say hurricane in the storage unit. But that's not what you're asking as standard shipping agreements in view of, But Commander-in-Chief, that would be your private enterprise and your business consultings aren't good enough. Just like Dressman and Tammy V. Lee as a GS-11, that would be seen to your unemployment.